You opened the door of your house to this person. You shared the bread, you told your plans, you cried in front of her. And it was precisely this person who took away your peace. If you know exactly what I am talking about, stay here. Because what God will reveal to you today through this message will completely change the way you view betrayal, pain, and the purpose that exists behind all of this. I need to tell you something that perhaps no one has had the courage to say to you until now. The person who hurt you the most was not a stranger. It was someone who sat at your table, someone who knew the flavor of the coffee you prepared in the morning, someone who knew your schedules, your fears, your weaknesses, and used all of that against you. This has a name in the Bible. This is called the Banquet of Judas. Judas was not a declared enemy. Judas was one of the 12. He walked beside Jesus. He heard the same teachings. He participated in the same prayers. And nevertheless, it was exactly he who delivered the Master with a kiss. Pay attention to this detail. With a kiss. The ultimate symbol of affection was transformed into the instrument of betrayal. And if this happened to Jesus, the Son of God, why do you think it could not happen to you? The question that no one asks is this: why did God allow it? Why did an all-powerful God let someone so close betray his own Son? And even more importantly, why is God allowing someone close to you to do the same thing in your life now? These answers will begin to appear from now on. But I need you to understand one thing before everything. This video did not reach you by chance. If among millions of videos on the internet, this is the one you are watching now, there is a spiritual reason for it. And as the message advances, you will understand what it is. Let us begin with the symptom. You feel a weariness that is not of the body. It is not that weariness of one who worked the whole day. It is an exhaustion of the soul. You wake up and already feel a weight, as if you carried something invisible on your back. And when you try to explain this to someone, no one understands. They tell you to relax, drink a tea, take a trip. But the problem is not in the body. The problem is in something that was broken inside of you by someone who should have protected it. This is the first sign that there was a banquet of Judas in your life. When someone who had access to your interior uses that access to destroy, the damage is not superficial. It goes deep. It hits trust, self-esteem, faith. There are people who, after such a betrayal, can no longer pray. They can no longer trust anyone. And the worst, they begin to doubt themselves. They begin to think that the problem is them, that they chose wrongly, that they deserved it. I need to tell you now, you did not deserve it. And the fact that you were betrayed by someone so close does not mean that you failed. It means that your destiny was too great to pass unnoticed. He who has no calling does not attract a Judas. Think on this. Do you know what I perceive when I converse with people who have gone through this? The majority are over 35, 40 years old. They are people who have already built something, who have already battled, who sweated to raise a family, a business, a reputation. And then when they were finally in a moment of stability or growth, someone appeared from the inside to sabotage. A partner who embezzled money, a spouse who lied for years, a friend who spread gossip to destroy a relationship. And the pain is not only for the material or emotional loss, the pain is for the breach of trust. It is perceiving that you opened your best to someone who did not deserve it, and this corrodes from within like nothing in the world. And it is exactly about this calling that I need to speak with you now, because what happened in your life is not just a pain, it is a sign. Perhaps in recent times, you have felt a restlessness that you cannot name, a persistent sensation that there is something greater reserved for you, but that contrary forces try to block at all costs. This is not common anxiety. This is spiritual conflict. When someone carries a mission to protect their own, to raise the family, to break generational cycles of suffering, the assaults against that person intensify, and they almost always come disguised as proximity. It was for this reason that I prepared the digital book, Manual of Those Chosen by God to Protect the Family. This material was born from the urgency of helping people who are going through exactly this. People who feel the weight of spiritual responsibility, but do not find clear guidance on how to act. Inside, you will find practical and spiritual paths to identify the assaults that aim at your house and learn to shield those you love. The link to access is in the description of this video and also pinned in the comments. And look, thousands of people have already accessed this material and returned to say that they finally understood what was happening around them. Some said it was like removing a blindfold from their eyes. But I need to be honest with you. This content will not remain available forever. There is a window and it may close at any moment. If something inside of you is saying to pay attention now, do not ignore that voice. And if this message is making sense, comment below. I accept my mission. This will help me know that this word is reaching those who need it. Now let us go deeper. Because until here I spoke of the symptom. Now comes the cause, and the cause is deeper than you imagine. Do you know why Judas betrayed Jesus? Many people think it was only for money, 30 pieces of silver. But it was not only that. Judas betrayed because he did not understand the purpose of Jesus. He wanted a political messiah, a leader who would take power by force. And when he perceived that Jesus had another plan, a spiritual plan, a plan of interior transformation, Judas became frustrated, and his frustration turned into resentment, and resentment turned into betrayal. Now notice how this repeats in your life. The person who betrayed you was often someone who wanted something from you. They wanted control. They wanted you to fit into a role. They wanted you to be smaller than you are so they could feel comfortable. And when you began to grow, when you began to awaken to something greater, when your light began to bother them, that person could not endure it, because the growth of others confronts those who are stagnant. There is a research study conducted by the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, which showed that more than 60% of cases of grave emotional rupture among Brazilian adults over 35 years old involve people from the most intimate circle, partners, direct family members, or longtime friends. They are not strangers. They are people who knew where the key to your vulnerability was. And this is not a statistical coincidence. It is a spiritual pattern. In the Bible, Psalm 41 verse 9 says, "Even my close friend in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted up his heel against me." David wrote this centuries before Christ, and his pain is identical to yours, because this type of betrayal is not something that arises in a specific generation. It is a spiritual dynamic that repeats whenever someone is anointed for something great. I want you to stop for a second and think about your history. Think about the person who hurt you. Now answer me mentally. Did this person hurt you precisely at a moment when you were beginning to rise? At a moment when something new was emerging? At a moment of renewed faith, of a new project, of a hope that was beginning to pulse again? If the answer is yes, you have just confirmed what the scriptures say. The betrayal of Judas was not random. It happened on the eve of the greatest spiritual victory in the history of humanity, the resurrection. Judas acted exactly at the moment when the purpose was about to be fulfilled. And this is what happens to you. The betrayal you suffered did not come to destroy you. It came because your victory was near, and the enemy knew it. But there is a crucial detail that almost no one perceives, and this detail changes everything. Jesus knew. He knew from the beginning that Judas would betray him. In the Gospel of John chapter 13 verse 21, Jesus says openly during the supper, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me." He knew, and even knowing, he washed the feet of Judas. He served him the bread. He looked into his eyes. He did not expose him publicly. He did not humiliate him. He did not impede him. Why? Because Jesus understood something that you need to understand now. The betrayal of the other does not define your character. What defines your character is how you respond. Many people, after being betrayed, enter a cycle of bitterness. They begin to distrust everyone. They close their heart. They build walls so high that not even blessings can enter. And without perceiving it, the person who was betrayed becomes a prisoner of their own pain. They were not destroyed by the betrayal. They were destroyed by the reaction to the betrayal. And here lies the secret that God wants to show you today. This weight that you are carrying, this distrust, this difficulty in opening up again, this fear of being vulnerable once more, all of this is understandable. No one has the right to minimize your pain. But God is telling you, do not let the wound become your identity. You are not the betrayed person. You are the person who survived the betrayal. And there is a monumental difference between these two things. Now I need to reinforce something important with you, because this is the exact point where many give up. It is precisely here, in this place of pain, transformed into purpose, that the majority of people get stuck. They feel they understand the problem, but they do not know the next step. It was for this reason that I prepared the digital book, Manual of Those Chosen by God to Protect the Family. In it, I deepen exactly how to transform the wound into a spiritual fortress, so that this pain never repeats in your house again. The link is in the description and in the comments. Do not leave for later what the Spirit is asking of you now. Moving forward, let us speak of the solution. Because you did not come here to stay in the pain, you came to come out of it. The first thing you need to do is stop trying to understand the person who betrayed you. I know it seems contradictory, but listen to me. You spend mental energy trying to find logic in an attitude that has no logic. You keep replaying conversations, moments, signs you could have seen, and the more you do this, the more you sink. Because betrayal is not about logic, it is about character, and the character of the other is not your responsibility. Judas repented later. He returned the coins, he felt remorse, but his repentance did not undo the act, and more importantly, the destiny of Jesus did not depend on the repentance of Judas, just as your destiny does not depend on the one who betrayed you asking for forgiveness. You need to hear this. Your destiny is independent of the person who hurt you. They have no power over what God has reserved for you. The only thing they had was temporary access, and that access has already expired. The second thing, and perhaps the most difficult, is forgiveness. And I am not talking about a beautiful forgiveness from a social media quote. I am talking about a raw, visceral forgiveness that hurts at the time of giving. To forgive is not to agree with what they did to you. To forgive is to release the rope that binds you to that person. While you do not forgive, you both are connected by pain. And this connection drains your spiritual energy day after day. I know you have probably already heard someone say, "Forgive and move on," as if it were that simple, as if it were pressing a button, but it is not. Forgiveness is a process. It is a daily decision. There are mornings when you will wake up and the anger will return with full force. You will remember that look, that lie, that moment when you discovered the truth. And on those mornings, you will need to decide again, I choose not to carry this. I choose to let go, not because the person deserves it, but because I deserve freedom. There is a research study from the University of São Paulo on the impact of prolonged resentment on the health of adults over 40 years old. The data showed that people who maintain a grudge for more than 2 years have a significantly higher risk of developing cardiovascular diseases, chronic insomnia, and depressive states. In other words, the person who betrayed you continues living their life. And you, holding the grudge, are becoming ill alone. This needs to stop. And here enters a powerful spiritual truth. When Jesus was on the cross with nails in his hands and feet, betrayed, abandoned, mocked, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He did not say this because it was easy. He said it because he understood that forgiveness was the door to the resurrection. Without forgiveness, there is no resurrection, and the same applies to you. While you do not forgive, you do not resurrect. You remain trapped in the Good Friday of your history, with the stone of the sepulchre blocking your vision of the future. If this video is making sense, I want to ask you to like it now, not for me, but because when you like it, the algorithm delivers this content to more people who are going through the same as you, and someone out there needs to hear exactly this today. The third thing you need to do is rebuild your table. Yes, after Judas left, the table continued. Jesus did not cancel the supper. He continued breaking the bread with those who remained. He did not let the departure of a traitor destroy the communion with the faithful. And you need to do the same. I know that after a betrayal, the temptation is to isolate yourself, to stay alone, to trust no one else. But isolation is the most dangerous trap that exists after a betrayal, because in isolation, the voice of the grudge becomes louder. Without good people around, you only hear the echoes of the pain. Rebuilding the table does not mean going around trusting anyone. It means having discernment to recognize who is Peter, who is John, who is James in your life. Because at the same table where Judas betrayed, Peter swore loyalty. John rested his head on the chest of Jesus. Not everyone is a Judas. But to see this, you need to heal the eyes of the soul. I know that in Brazil we have a very strong culture of welcoming. A Brazilian's house always has an extra place at the table. There is always leftover food to receive someone. And this is beautiful. But after a betrayal, this natural generosity becomes a reason for guilt. The person thinks, I was too open, I was too naive, I trusted too much, and they begin to close themselves. They begin to lose that which they had that was most beautiful. Do not let the cowardice of the other erase your goodness. The world already has enough cold people. Your generosity is a gift. You only need to learn to direct it to those who are worthy. And do you know how one heals the eyes of the soul? With the word, with prayer, with the conscious decision not to let the bad experience of yesterday define your capacity to love tomorrow. And also with time. Give time to yourself. True healing is not rushed. It is built day after day, conversation after conversation, prayer after prayer. I know people who rebuilt their entire lives after devastating betrayals. People who lost marriages, business partnerships, friendships of decades, and who today are standing, strong, with a new table, surrounded by true people. Do you know what all these people have in common? They decided not to stay at the banquet of Judas forever. They rose from the table of betrayal and built the table of restoration. And it is exactly this that God is calling you to do now. There is a verse in Psalm 23 that everyone knows. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Notice the detail. The table is set in the presence of the enemies. This means that restoration does not happen after all the problems disappear. It happens while they are still there. God does not wait for your life to become perfect to bless you. He blesses you in the middle of the chaos. He restores you in the presence of those who doubted you. He raises you in front of those who tried to pull you down. And this is profoundly liberating, because it means that you do not need to wait for the pain to pass to begin living again. You can live even with the scar. The scar is not a shame. It is proof that the wound did not kill you. How many people do you know who live waiting for the ideal situation to start over? They keep waiting for the perfect day, the perfect moment, the complete healing. And time goes by. The years go on. And that person who one day had dreams, who had plans, begins to wither inside, not because of the betrayal itself, but because of the interminable wait for a resolution that perhaps will never come the way they imagine. God does not ask that you be whole to use you. He asks that you be available, even broken, even wounded, even with fear. It is in fragility that His strength is perfected. And I want to give you a practical example. Think of the woman who was betrayed by her husband after 20 years of marriage. Children raised together, a house built together, dreams shared. And suddenly, everything collapses. In the first months, she can barely eat. She can barely get out of bed. The children notice, the family gives opinions, the world judges. But this woman, deep down, knows that there is something inside her that did not die. A flame that insists on continuing to burn. And with time she rises. She seeks God with more intensity. She finds true people. She rebuilds her life. And when she looks back, she understands that the betrayal, as painful as it was the door that God used to take her to a place she would never reach in that marriage. This is not romanticizing pain. It is recognizing the sovereignty of God even in chaos. Now, I know there are people watching this video who are at a very delicate point. Perhaps the betrayal is recent. Perhaps the wound is still open, and everything I have said until now makes sense in the head, but the heart has not yet followed. If this is your case, I want to tell you it is all right. Healing has no deadline. God is not with a stopwatch demanding that you recover quickly. He is with you in the process. Every tear that falls, He collects. Every night that you turn from one side to the other in bed without being able to sleep, He is there. You are not alone, even if it seems that you are. Even if the whole world has turned its back on you, the Creator of the universe is by your side. And if someone told you that the fault is yours, that you deserved it, that you provoked the situation, I need you to discard that lie now. That is manipulation. That is what the Judas of your life says to justify his own cowardice. The fault of the betrayal belongs to the one who betrayed, period. There is no context that justifies destroying the trust of one who truly loved you. In this moment, I need to be direct with you once more. Everything you have heard until here is the surface of something much deeper that is happening in your spiritual life now. You know what I am saying. You feel it. That pressure in the chest that appears out of nowhere, that crying that comes without explanation, that dream that repeats and that you do not understand. All of these are indications that something in the spiritual world is in motion around you, and it is not just anything. It is about the protection of your house, of your children, of your blood. It was for this reason that I prepared the digital book, Manual of Those Chosen by God to Protect the Family. This material was made for those who are exactly at this point, understanding that the battle is real but needing a map. You find the access in the description and in the comments. Each day that passes without this awareness is a day in which your family remains exposed. Do not wait for it to happen again to act. Now let us go to the last point, and perhaps the most important of all this message. Do you know what happened to the chair of Judas after he left? It did not remain empty forever. In Acts chapter 1, the apostles chose Matthias to occupy the place. The chair of Judas was filled by someone faithful. And in your life it will be the same. The place that remained empty with the departure of the one who betrayed you will be occupied by someone whom God is already preparing. Someone who will sit at your table with loyalty, with truth, with respect. But for that person to arrive, you need to vacate the chair. And vacating the chair means stopping keeping a place for the one who has already left. It means stopping feeding the hope that the Judas will return repentant and everything will be as before. It will not be as before. It will be better, because the table that God is preparing for you is a table of restoration. And at this table, there is no space for pretense, for disguised envy, for a little kiss on the cheek with a dagger in the back. At this table, the communion is real. There is one thing that the Brazilian people understand like no one else: the value of a family meal. That Sunday lunch with everyone together, the grandmother at the head of the table, the pot of beans on the stove, the children running through the yard. This is the picture that God wants to restore in your life. But for this, He needs first to clean the table, to remove those who should not be there, to heal those who were wounded, to strengthen those who remained. And then when everything is in the right place, He Himself will serve, because the God who prepared the supper with the disciples is the same God who is preparing your table of restoration now. I want to leave you with an image. Imagine yourself 1 year from now sitting at a table with people who truly love you, laughing, eating, with a light heart, with faith restored, with the family protected, without that weight in the chest, without that constant distrust, without that fear of being hurt again. This is not fantasy, this is a promise, and God is faithful to His promises. But the journey to that table begins with a step, and the step is now. It is today, it is in this exact moment in which you are hearing my voice. If you have reached this point, I am certain that this message was for you, because he who did not need it would have already left a long time ago. You stayed because something inside of you recognized the truth, and this truth is simple. The betrayal you suffered is not the end of your story. It is the chapter that precedes the turn. Subscribe to this channel if you are not yet subscribed. Activate the bell so as not to miss any message, because what God has to reveal to you in the next videos will surprise you. Now, if this word touched your heart, comment below. My table shall be restored. I want to read your comment. I want to know that this message reached where it needed to reach. And if you know someone who is going through this pain, share this video. Sometimes, a simple gesture of sharing can change someone's life. Before closing, I want to reinforce something that can transform your walk from now on. What you felt throughout this video is not a passing emotion. It is a spiritual response. It is your soul recognizing a calling that already existed even before you pressed play. You were placed in this position, in the middle of this family, in this moment of history, for a reason. And this reason involves protection, restoration, and the breaking of cycles that have been repeating for generations. It was for this reason that I prepared the digital book, Manual of Those Chosen by God to Protect the Family. This material is the next step for those who understood that they can no longer live spiritually unarmed. The link is here in the description and in the comments. Do not close this video without first accessing it. If this message was a calling, the book is the practical response to that calling. Comment below, I accept the restoration, and let God know that you are ready to occupy your place. May the peace of the Lord be with you. May He heal your wounds, restore your table, and place around you people worthy of the banquet He has prepared for your life. Until the next video.